Good day folks, the Pro Audio Journalist here. Today is my verbal review of the Artist AS72 guitar. Artist guitars have caused quite a stir lately with the AS72, understandable considering the specs at this price point. So is it a unicorn? Well, I would say yes and no. To start with the positives, the guitar was set up rather well out of the box. However, certainly not as low as one would desire in my opinion. The satin feel caramelized maple neck feels so good that it rivals most guitars, costing many times more. I'd go as far as saying that artists have nailed this feel. It's very silky smooth with little to no grab on your hand. Well done, artist. I will say that the chosen radius and neck profile feels unique to me, and I find it very comfortable, especially if you're like me and you like playing in the classical seated position. The stainless steel frets were very slinky despite not being highly polished. I would factor in a fret polish kit if you're going to make this purchase. The guitar feels like it doesn't fight against you, especially with bending. However, this brings me to my first negative. I don't believe the frets are tall enough. They are described as medium jumbo, and I think that's really pushing it. For example, I have a PRS 594 SE with medium jumbo frets, and they are considerably taller than the Artist guitar. Unfortunately, I feel my fingers getting caught on the fretboard, especially with bending. I was really disappointed. That said, they are only a bit shorter than my Les Paul Tribute, and I managed to like the feel of that guitar at least on some days. And players that come through the studio might like that feel, so I'm contemplating keeping it still. I'm wondering if this fret wire is considerably cheaper. I don't know, but I think it's an odd choice, and it would please a greater audience if Artist went for something taller. I particularly like the string spacing, round the nut I would say. It kind of reminds me of a Music Man. It feels snug and effortless. I have to say that they got this neck profile uniquely right. I have no idea what it's based on, but the comfort above the 12th fret, especially the 15th fret, is one of the best I've ever felt on a Strat style guitar. Personally, I believe this guitar is better suited to 9-42s rather than the 10-46 they shipped with. Kudos to Artist for the Diodario strings, they really felt fresh. The neck is courtesan, a feature usually more associated with higher priced instruments. The guitar balances well on a strap. It's the perfect weight in my opinion. There's a bit of solidness about the weight which I like. The body does resonate really well, particularly around the D string frequency. However, I don't feel like it sustains as well as I expected. It certainly does not have the sustain of my Music Man USA Silhouette, and I believe this might have something to do with the bridge and pickups. Which brings me to a negative, which is the pickups aren't great. They lack clarity, definition, and transient response. If you are generally a clean player, this could be mistaken for warmth, but if you like a bit of drive, I find them near unusable. This is across all three pickups unfortunately. This was really disappointing, as a pickup upgrade now puts this guitar in a different price bracket. I have no idea how other YouTube reviewers have not picked up on these pickups. It absolutely baffles me. Considering this, unless you get your kicks out of guitar upgrades, my advice is to save a few more dollars and buy a Yamaha Pacifica instead. There's a well-priced Pacifica model that is loaded with Seymour Duncans, and I believe it's a superior instrument to the Artist. Also, my luthier, who has been working on guitars for over 30 years, told me that the best setup he ever achieved was on one of these Pacificas. They're a great underrated guitar model. The bridge on the AS72 is just passable. It's not great. I would have much preferred a 2-point Goto even if it did raise the price a little. I have suggested this to artists. I'm unsure why, but I felt the bridge was dulling the sound and reducing sustain. It just didn't sound as bright and snappy as, say, a Music Man bridge or a Goto. I'm not sure if it's the materials or the design, but it was an anomaly to me that the artist felt so dull, yet the body resonated so well. But I must say, I'm very fussy about bridges. The nitro finish is something that should be encouraged. It's somewhat unheard of at this price point, and I'm unsure why all higher priced artist guitars are not nitro finish. Maybe they've just started out experimenting with this finish. I imagine the look of the AS72 is somewhat polarizing. I personally like it, even though I generally don't like relic guitars that aren't worn from genuine usage. The AS72 looks different and it stands out in the crowd. I'd love to know how they actually do the paisley finish. I'm wondering if it's printed on, or it's a veneered sheet laid on the guitar with a solution. The locking tuners are fine, not as smooth as high quality units. However, I did find the tuning stability of the instrument was more stable than I expected. The truss rod adjustment is smoother than I expected too, and I was able to achieve a decent action. It should be noted that I did see another YouTuber who couldn't get the neck perfectly straight due to a design issue. I'm hoping artists have taken note. I really think that some manufacturers are guilty of putting in cheap truss rods. I'm unsure what this truss rod is like, considering I have not spent time with this guitar, but I've bought a luthier's straight edge this week to see how straight I can get this neck, and I will include this conclusion in my follow-up review. My conclusion is that this guitar is really a 6 out of 10. It's not yet a unicorn despite being so good on paper, and it really could be something special. It would be an 8 out of 10 with Seymour Duncan pickups, Goto bridge and tuners. My scoring is better than you think, as it indicates the bones of the guitar are above average, and it makes it a great guitar to do mods and upgrades. I'm personally about to put in Seymour Duncans, and I will provide a secondary review if you guys are interested in this upgrade. I really think it will make it a whole new guitar. I would like to say that we should all be keeping an eye on artist guitars, as their features for the price are proving to be quite an industry stirrer. I would like to see higher spec models where they incorporate high spec pickups and hardware. I suggested this to artists as I see what I'm suggesting competing with Ibanez AZs, Pacificas and Schecter Nick Johnston models. It really could be an industry standard guitar with the right appointments. I recently played a used Schecter Nick Johnston Stratocaster, and that's a superb instrument, and the AS72 could get there with the right appointments, but right now it's not up to par in my opinion. But watch this space. Please like and subscribe, as I have a review of the artist Telecaster coming. Hopefully that's a bit better, but I'm worried about the pickups. And plenty of pro audio reviews are in the pipeline. As I said, I will also do a follow-up review of my upgrades to the artist guitar. That's if I decide to keep it. I didn't do many playing examples in this review, as I don't believe the pickups are up to it, unfortunately. That's all from me, folks. I'm the Pro Audio Journalist. I'll see you in the next one.